Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you are watching Season 3 of Conversations in Pop Culture, brought to you by my sponsors, Mixum Printing, the smarter way to print. I know printing your creative project can be confusing and stressful, but Mixum is here to make it easy. From their instant code calculator that lets you get as many quotes as you want for free to their 24-hour customer service support, Mixum is here to make sure your printing experience runs smoothly from start to finish. And right now, you can choose from a range of premium printing options and materials. And the company has also printed so many successful Kickstarter campaigns. Some of them you have even heard about on this very show. And they currently offer services in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK. And Mixum can print and reach your audience anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to print smarter, not harder, head over to Mixum.com. And right now, they are running a promotion where listeners of my show can drop my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of a current order to get a 5% discount on their first order. So that is mixam.com. Again, my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of your current order to receive a 5% discount on your first order. Also, I am sponsored by BCW Supplies. Inflation's hitting. It's expensive to order bags and boards. I think BCW Supplies might even be backlogged till May at this point, but you still need comic supplies. And why don't you save yourself some money by using my code POPANIMECOMICS to get 10% off your entire order? Things are expensive in life, so please save yourself 10% off on all that. And also, I have a Kickstarter that is going on right now. I am fully funded. I got another $17 a few minutes ago by O Kingdom Come, which is a really cool book. Just want to give him a shout out. And that's currently up there. It's ending at 8 o'clock. So I think have like an hour and 10 minutes left on it. So go check that out. Click the link while you're listening to me and my guest, Ben Dunn, speak. So welcome back to the show.
Hello.
So welcome back to the show.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, no, I am very, very excited because this is the third time I've had you back. And obviously, I've been on a few shows where you've been there. And obviously, this is the third time, as I stated, you being back. And you got a lot going on right now. Obviously, Antarctic Press is slaying dragons in the comic world. But you currently have pretty much the Girls in Ninja High School Volume 1 up in that collection on Kickstarter. And the link, just so everybody knows, is up in the description. So if you're interested in what we hear and talk about, please go actually back that project. But before we get into this Kickstarter, let's catch everybody up on what is Ninja High School for those who have never heard about it for the first time, which I know is very few people who are going to be watching this, hopefully.
Well, Ninja High School was a comic that I started in 1985. I actually started doing it in around 86 with the intention of putting out as a 3-issue miniseries for Antarctic Press. It's very manga inspired. I'm a big anime and manga fan. And back in the 80s, there just wasn't a lot available as far as that was concerned. I really loved the Urusei Yatsura by Rumiko Takahashi, and I liked the Project Eiko, and I loved the Japanese, over-the-top gonzo humor that was prevalent in anime at the time. So I decided, you know what, I love this stuff. I'm going to do my own version of it. So I just sat down and started incorporating all the tropes from the anime and manga that I saw and read, and just created my own world. And I called it Ninja High School because there was a show that I watched where, of course, I don't speak any Japanese. And we had to make up titles for the shows that we had no idea what they were called. And one of the shows that I watched had a ninja in it. And he was a teenager. So I thought, we'll call this show Ninja High School. So when I found out the real name of it, I decided to go ahead and take that name and adapt it to my own comic series, and it's been running ever since.
Yeah, and we've gone through the entirety of Ninja High School, I think, in our first and also our second interview, so I don't want to rehash all of that. But one of the cool things that's happened in the last few years is that you've gotten the ability to bring back a lot of the stuff and republish all the old stuff in collected editions and in nice hardcover editions, along with doing, the swimsuit editions, which I have both of those that you sketched in, which were really cool on Kickstarter. I know you've done a bunch of yearbooks and things of that nature that were funded on Kickstarter as well. And then I know you've done posters and prints and a variety of other things surrounding it. And so, what has this been like? Because obviously, it sort of fosters multiple generations. Because I wasn't born when Ninja High School first came out. I'm 29, and a variety of other people have now come into Ninja High School and been like, oh, I love this stuff. And now they get to go both backwards and forward and also get all the stuff, because at the same time, a lot of people who might have read the swimsuit editions in 93, they might not have those issues around anymore. And they want to reread that stuff and they want it in their collections. So what has that been like? Because you've sort of gone both forward and backwards with Ninja High School, and you've also made it collectible, and you also allowed it to be spun across multiple generations.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Ninja High School, like I said, originally I only intended it to be a 3-issue miniseries, but it proved to be popular enough for me to keep going. So one of the things, I wanted to do was to avoid what I called the Archie syndrome, where Archie's a teenager, but he's been a teenager for like 60 years, and he hasn't changed. And that's one of the things I wanted to avoid in my comic was that idea. So every 10 years or so, I change the cast. I do a new way. Collecting all the back issues allows people who are not familiar with Ninja High School to see the what other people have done as far as the series is concerned. The whole reason for doing the yearbooks and Girls of and the swimsuit was that back then we were getting a ton of submissions from fans, and we decided that there got to be a way to use this stuff. So we decided to go ahead and open it up to submissions to allow creators to do their take on the Ninja High School universe. And we are. I'm proud to say that the yearbooks, the Ninja High School yearbook, is one of the longest running independent anthologies that we've ever done. Ran for 21 years. I'm thinking of bringing it back. Same the girls. I mean, we just had a lot of stuff at the time, and we decided to go ahead and give people the opportunity to get published and to get their stuff out and get to play in the sandbox.
Yeah, and to even talk a little bit about that, because obviously it is very much anthology oriented, and what is, and to even go further, because some of this stuff is really hard to find now. It's also very expensive on eBay. And one of just the perfect examples that there's a cover from the swimsuit edition that is like a $90 book on eBay. And backing the swimsuit edition, and obviously that thing is long gone and long over. And we're going to be talking about your one that's going on right now, but it's this idea that that is significantly cheaper to get all of that. And it's the idea that for people who want to read it and also have that issue collected and have some of that cover artwork in the book, and having that, ability to actually get a physical copy of it. What is that like? Because there is a big graphic novel market, and there is a big idea that people want, to actually have the physical item, and they don't want to have it digitally, and that having it readily available. It's a big problem. I feel that with certain series that it's impossible to get certain books now. But if you just want to read the story, it's much cheaper to get that. It's much easier. I'll give a great example. That's Marvel. 601 Spider-Man is a very expensive book, but to get that book in a graphic novel is $15. So significantly, there's a big difference. So what is that like for you to also hit that market? Because there's a bunch of people like me who say, I just want to read Ninja High School. As much as I don't really care about the $90 book, I want to read the actual story because I want to escape from sort of the world for an hour.
Well, that's just what is very unusual about the American comic book market, is that we have a collector's market here. I mean, if you look at any other country who do comics, maybe other than Great Britain, they don't treat comics as collectibles. They treat comics as reading material, as literature, and they keep them in print as long as people are willing to buy them. And if something goes out of print, it just goes out of print, and there's no real collector's market. So one of the things I wanted to do was to give people the opportunity to not only read the anthologies that we did, because they've never been reprinted. We never reprinted them or collected them, and I decided, this would be a good opportunity to give people a chance to read the material that was done over the years. And I've been very, very pleased with the response I've been getting with these collections, and I've been getting a lot of positive feedback on being from people who were able to read it for the first time, and just to see the mix. I mean, you mentioned the swimsuit issue. I think that was Mendoza. I think he is the creator of Zombie Tramp. That was like one of his first, probably the first printed work he ever did.
That's
And
that's very expensive.
well, that's the thing, is that I want to give young creators a chance, to work on something and get published, because there's a lot of talent out there. Of course, now it's a lot easier. Back then, it was not so easy to get published. You had to go through. It was a much more difficult, but now you can just post your stuff on the internet, and you can have thousands, if not millions, of people read it or watch it. I mean, WebTunes is a good example of that. But there is something visceral about holding a real physical copy of a book, being able to read it, flip through it, and not have to worry about reading it on a computer, where you have to change the size and read it. It's just not the same experience. I mean, I like to give people the choice if they wanted to read it as a PDF or as a electronic file. That's perfectly fine if they're satisfied with that. But I think it's going to be a long time before books are replaced entirely by digital.
This is interesting, and I actually am curious because I am a strong believer, at least in comics, and maybe not in reading, because I read on an iPad, like a novel, for instance. I don't think it's the same thing. Where I think novels and digital books and actual, like, reading a novel on your iPad, I think it's a little bit different than a comic book. I think people want an experience with a comic. I think there's a whole different feeling where print is dominating in comics, undeniably. I think with other mediums, with books, like, I think a history book doesn't have the same merit and the same domination that a comic book has, because there is something about reading a graphic novel in your hand and having a beat up copy of a book. And I don't know about you, but obviously you've done a bunch of cons, and I haven't written anything, but I'm sure somebody's brought you up a beat up copy of a book, and that book has been read, and it's now not, it might not be worth anything, but it's worth something to that person, and they clearly had it for years, and it's a very different experience. And
Absolutely. I mean, the reward is in the reading of the book. That's the whole reason for the existence of comics. I mean, that's why I'm not against having comics slabbed, but it sort of defeats the whole purpose of what a comic is. It's like, that Toy Story 2, where the toys were lamenting the fact they would just be behind a case, and he says that, oh, we'll never be played by kids or be loved by a child or anything like that. It's the same thing with comics. It just doesn't make much sense to me that if you slap a comic, the whole point of a comic is to be able to read it, and to be able to hold it, and to flip through the pages and to smell it, and to really take a good look at the artwork and the printing and the ads and the letters pages. I mean, it's a whole experience that you can't do if a book is slabbed or if it's on a computer.
yeah, I mean, I'm a digital comic reader, but the reason why I'm a digital comic reader is that I love my iPad, and also I have Comixology.
Yeah,
And
it's very convenient. It is also very convenient and cheap.
it's complete convenience, and it's also expense, and it's also storage for me at
Yeah.
this stage, because I am now in the realm where I buy the physical items I love and I need to have. But
Hmm.
sometimes I want to read a book and a comic book, and I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but if it's on Comixology and I'm
Sure.
borrowing it, for me it's just easier, because then I don't feel any pressure. Like, I don't know how to explain that I'm not looking, when I'm reading Comixology books, to collect them. I'm looking to read a story, and I'm going to be very nice, but some stories, not every story is the same. And so if I don't like it after the first issue, I could just drop it because I didn't spend any money. And
Right.
so it's a little bit different. And also, it's the idea that when there is 300 issues of Captain America, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to buy all 300 of those issues. But if it's Comixology, I can read all 300. And
Yeah,
so
you can pick and choose whatever one you want, and
it's
that's
one of those things where it's just complete convenience. But I'm also at the stage, and this sort of brings me where I want to go with your Kickstarter. Is the reason why I bought the swimsuit editions in Ninja High School is because I needed to have those books. I wanted to put those books on a shelf. I want to actually read the graphic novel, and I'm at that stage as a collector and as a graphic novel guy and as a comic guy, where obviously I have a business selling, buying, selling comics, but I'm also at the stage as a collector where I can't collect everything, so I'm collecting what I want to collect, and I back what I want to back on Kickstarter.
sure.
And so I think that's also sort of what's going on a little bit with your Kickstarters with Ninja High School, where people are like saying, "Hey, look, I really want this in my bookshelf, and if I have
Absolutely.
100 books, this is one of the books I want in my bookshelf." Type of mentality.
Hmm. Well, that's what I wanted to do, is just to offer the opportunity to be able to not only read the stories, but to have a way to go back and reread them again if you want, and just have them available in a convenient format. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with uh, digital comics. I read a lot of Golden Age comics because there's no way I could afford them. So this gives me, and it's also great for doing research too. Because sometimes I'll go through a lot of the public domain Golden Age comics, and I'll find interesting stories and characters that are ripe for a revival. I think just have to but you have to know who the characters are, what they did, and try to stay within the confines of their original conception.
And so to even go further into your Kickstarter, which is the next book that you're doing with Ninja High School, and it is the girls of Ninja High School. It is an anthology. I think there's three of them that were published, and this is the first time it's being ever reprinted. And so, what's the story behind this book? And when was this book made? And now, why are you bringing it back into the Kickstarter world and making it the next iteration of Ninja High School? Because obviously, there are people who are Ninja High School fans that didn't even know this existed,
Oh,
including.
absolutely. Well,
So
it
I'm
actually ran. Yes. Hello.
I'm guilty that I didn't know it existed. So this is I'll be the
Oh,
first person
no
to admit
problem,
it.
no problem. I mean, I'll be the first to admit Ninja High School is not a household name. I mean, it has its following, and I'm trying to build up on that. But Girls on Ninja High School ran 7 issues, and I'm collecting the first three. The girls sprang from the overwhelming material we've been getting when we first launched the yearbooks. The yearbooks were launched in 1989, and they proved to be such a big success for us that we kept the yearbooks going. But we had an overflow of material, so we decided to go ahead and do a spin-off book focused on the girls of the female characters in Ninja High School, and decided to collect them in their own anthology. So, and that's where it came from. So it lasted quite a while. It lasted about 7 years. Then but as the submissions started to dwindle, we decided to go ahead and focus strictly on the yearbooks. And we went ahead and canceled the Girls of. But it did pretty good during its run, and we were happy with it, and we were able to keep the yearbooks going for quite a many years after the cessation of the Girls of.
And so obviously it ran for 7 years, and then now obviously the swimsuits did really well. A bunch of the yearbooks, obviously I think we're funded on Kickstarter. Obviously you did all of the omnibuses, and this is the next, Kickstarter you're doing for Ninja High School. So what prompted that decision to bring this onto Kickstarter and push it out, and now bring it into a whole reprint? Because it is interesting when you're reviving, or you're not reviving it. It's more along the lines that you're reprinting it and you're bounding it nicely, and you're creating volume one and volume two of this. I'm
Well,
presuming there's going to be a second volume, right?
yes, that'll collect the final 4 issues into
And
one
so, what
volume.
was this like, and really bringing this out? Because I think that's super interesting when people say, "Hey, because correct me if I'm wrong, but was this always the plan, or were you waiting to see how the swimsuit editions did well, and this has done well, and then now you're moving on to pretty much the whole back library of everything that wasn't already done?"
Well, that's the thing, is that I had a lot of positive reception for the yearbooks and the swimsuit. So it was only natural to do the girls of, and I had a lot of people asking me about it, saying when I was going to collect it, and I decided that it was about time to do it because, like I said, I did the yearbooks, I did the swimsuit, and the girls were the next. So it's sort of a progression, and it just seemed like the natural next step as far as collecting all the various Ninja High School products.
Yeah, and obviously the people who love Ninja High School really love this stuff and are very probably excited for it. And I think this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but out of I think because I backed the first swimsuit edition and I backed the second one, and then this is sort of the third book that um, out of money. So I apologize. I just back Catch It One, everybody. Okay, yeah, I had to make a choice. It was a tough choice. It really was. But I think this book so far is beating both swimsuit editions as far as the money that's been raised. And what is that like for you? Because obviously that must be very rewarding for you and everything that you're doing.
Oh,
So
well, yeah, I have to thank all my backers and readers and fans. It is overwhelming to see that there are still people out there who remember the series, who's willing to support it, and it's just something that I'm very proud of, and I'm very happy, and it's just I can't thank them enough. It's just amazing that there are people out there still remember the series, still support it, still love it, and I'm just trying to do what I can to satisfy them, and that's my job, really. I'm here to entertain. I'm here to create stories that people will love and create characters that people will like, and hopefully I'll be able to keep doing that. And this allows me to keep doing that.
and even to go further, because one of the things about Kickstarter that's very important, obviously, I am about to wrap up my first one. So I don't really have much of a data point, but when I go off my second, my third, my fourth, one of the things that you want in Kickstarter, and I think it's a problem that a lot of people fall into, and I could be completely wrong and talking out of my ass here, but you want to be growing as a Kickstarter, where if you do 4,000 in your first one, you want to do 5,000 the next one, or 6,000 to 8,000 to 9,000. And so, what is that like? Because that's a sign that an individual is growing, their fan
Well,
base is growing, their company's growing, and it's very
it is.
important.
It is. The thing is, the old saying goes, "The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step," and you're taking the first step. I mean, this may be your first campaign, and it did well. You had it fully funded. You're really willing to go. Now, the important thing, and a lot of people seem to, a lot of creators who are on.
I don't know if you know Niobe Comics by any chance.
I love Niobe. Bring him in here. But
Continue. I'm sorry. Continue.
no problem, no problem. The important thing is fulfillment. Okay, the worst thing you can do as a first time creator is not fulfill your campaign. Okay, and that is the more I think what it is that you're building trust with your campaign. People are beginning. They don't know who you are. They don't know what kind of person you are, and all they can go by is your campaign. And now it's important that you communicate with them. Of course, you want to treat each and every backer as an individual, and the worst thing you can do is to ignore them or to blow them off or to insult them. And so once you fulfill your campaign, then people can say they can think, well, I can trust this creator. So your next campaign you do, they'll be more willing to back it, and they'll be able to tell their friends, and say, hey, back this guy because he's somebody we can trust. And then you do the second one and you fulfill it. Then the third one, more people will be able to trust you as the creator as well. I mean, the whole thing is built on trust. If you really want the truth, I
It,
mean,
it, it, it's trust, and I think it's your name in a lot of ways as well, where it's the idea that, in this business, you have delivery, you fulfill, and it's also your name. Can you deliver what you say you're going to deliver? You know,
well,
and that's a big thing where, I mean,
it
I'm
is.
not. to be very honest, I've been doing my podcast for this is my third year in. And, obviously I said that I'm not going to go and I'm not going to go start another Kickstarter until every person who backed a spot on my Kickstarter is scheduled. Not necessarily because somebody might have a Kickstarter they want to be interviewed for in October. I'm not going to wait till October per se, or I may, I don't know yet, but I'm
Yeah.
going to wait till everybody's at least scheduled.
I
I'm
think,
going to make sure everybody gets taken care of in that
right.
realm, which I think is very important because I know, and I don't know how many Kickstarters you've backed, but it's a real problem when you're waiting a year or 2 years or 4 years or 5 years for a book.
Oh, well, I mean, that's that. I mean, the thing about it is that a lot of people don't realize that Kickstarter was originally intended to fund projects, not as a store to buy, projects. The intent was that, hey, I got this idea. I'm going to try to get people to convince people to fund the idea so that I can get it to completion. If it takes a year to complete, then it takes a year to complete. But the thing about it is that there's a space where you can tell people how long it's going to take if you just have to be honest with them. I know people have a lot of patience, okay, and if you update, you communicate, you tell people what's going on, let them know that you haven't forgotten them, they're willing to tolerate a lot, and especially if it's a project they really really believe in, but I think a lot of people have lost sight of what Kickstarter really was all about, and Indiegogo is that it was about funding project, finding the money to fund a project, not a storefront, just to buy stuff. I mean, you can go to Amazon for that. So, the whole idea is to back creators that you believed in.
Yeah, I think that there's a real issue with that where there's a big division between those two things, and it's now tricky because it's also now big business is very much involved in Kickstarter where people are doing 30, 40, 50, $100,000 campaigns. That is a small business now. It is now, and look, there's nothing wrong. I'm a capitalist. Don't get me wrong, everybody, but it's also evolved past I think what Kickstarter's initial idea was. And that's good and bad in a lot of ways. And I might get flack for saying this, but I want things to grow and I'm glad people are doing well. Obviously Naomi's in and he's killing it with that comic. When you're doing almost 25,000 and then hopefully the next one's going to do 30, it's this idea that that's good and I'm excited and I want that to happen. But at the same time, that's a small business now.
Well,
That's not
absolutely. Well,
it's
I
not
mean,
anymore. Yeah.
you bring up a good point where to me, Kickstarter and crowdfunding in general is the ultimate expression of capitalism, because you are putting out a product that you hope people will buy, okay, who will fund you, and it, it's all dependent on how you can convince them to be able to come to your project and to go ahead and back it. Okay, that's the biggest trick is, and if you do well, then people like your project, and they're willing to back you. If you don't, then you have to go back and say, well, what did I do wrong? What did I miss? What was it about this project that didn't hit? You know, I mean, you have to do a lot of self reflection. You can't just simply, if you have a failure, and that's the thing is that I've had Kickstarter failure, so it's not like I haven't learned from some of those mistakes. The important thing is to learn from those mistakes and try to do better next time. And that's what hopefully will happen. Especially for first time creators who are this. I mean, the thing about it is that when you're on Kickstarter, you have to wear a lot of hats. Okay, you're the creator, you're the promoter, you're the distributor, and you are the PR man. You have to do all those things, and some creators are not really that good at it, to be honest. I mean, all they want to do is just sit down and draw, whatever they want to draw. They don't have to want to deal with, the public at large, or to have to do the mundane things of packing and shipping and going to the post office and doing constant updates and things like that. I think for a lot of creators, especially for someone, all they really see are the dollar signs. They see people doing well, but there's a reason why these creators who are doing well make that kind of money, because they built, like I said, the trust between them and their backers. And they have to. A lot of first time creators they have to understand that. They have to understand that, if I don't know you from Adam, if you're a first time creator, so you have to either wow me with the project that you're putting out, or I trust you that you're going to put out the product that you're going to do. Because I
It's
tell you what,
yeah.
what
Oh, for me, it's slightly different because obviously I'm doing season 3, so I have a bit of a track record, but I still feel that the 36 people or 37 people, I still have to prove to them. And right now, and there are people who I don't know who have backed my project, and I have to prove to them that there's a reason why you backed my project. There's a reason why
absolutely.
you backed my podcast, and I need to bring the value. And I completely understand that. I think it's very important for people to understand that in order to get me involved, a lot of times with people's Kickstarters, I know the person or I've interviewed them. And so I build trust differently because I'm not the average customer anymore. Because if I interview you and then I back your project, it's a little bit different
Hmm.
than if, I just came across your project on Kickstarter. I'm like, oh, wow, this looks cool. That trust is a little bit different. So I'm in a bit of a different category. But at the same time, I still feel that even for the people who know me, I got to earn your trust. I got to earn your value. I got to earn your dollar. And
Right.
I think some people feel saying, hey, you got a bit of a track record and you did a lot last year and you're already starting off this year, and then you're going to send out a calendar link legitimately tomorrow or the next day as soon as those surveys go out. I mean, as soon as the money comes in, that link is going right out, and I'm booking everybody hopefully before the 14th. And so, but I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand when they're starting their first, second, or even third, is that it does take time to build up trust. And I think that's something in
Absolutely.
comics that is very complicated that a lot of people don't understand. And that's just my opinion. Again, I haven't written a comic. I have done a lot of podcasting. That's what I've observed.
Well, that's great, because you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot of things to help promote your brand. You help promote you as an individual. I mean, it takes a lot of work, and it takes a fair bit of talent to do that as well, and persistence. It's really difficult to juggle all those things, and try to build a brand for yourself, and to convince people that you're worth backing. You know.
I don't know if you know Max DeVille, but that's Max DeVille. I think is Atrocity Press. So
uh,
that's
I'm not in the same, even not even the same league as Stan Lee, but thank you for the comparison. I appreciate that.
and I'll throw this one off because this is what your boy wants.
I'm not that photogenic. I probably would just freeze on there, But it is. But the thing is, right, is I love comics and I love people in comics. It just befuddles me why comic books cannot be more than what they are right now. It's like the perfect delivery system for ideas. You don't have to worry about any budget. All you have to really worry about is the ability just to get it done, and to find a way to, because you don't even have to print it. You can just load it up online on Webtoons and have people read it for free. I mean, of course, it's difficult to monetize something like that on a digital platform, but it can be done. If your book is popular enough, you can make some. Because I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Webtoons, but sometimes some of their stuff have millions of readers. And it is possible to create something that create a huge following.
It's the idea that I'm a huge Avatar: The Last Airbender fan. I'm a huge Korra fan, and while to make Avatar: The Last Airbender as a TV show or The Legend of Korra as a TV show, and they did 4 seasons of that. They did 3 seasons, 60 episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but then they continued those stories in graphic novels. And I could tell you that probably that graphic novel, all said and done, might have cost $25,000. I mean, it's 162 pages, which really isn't that bad, all things considering. That's a big property. It's a hardbound book. But an episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender costs way more than $25,000 to produce. And
Mhm.
so when we actually look at cost pound for pound, the idea to produce a graphic novel that continues a story versus a whole nother season of an animated series or a cartoon, it's a big difference. And I know that you just had something that just came out on Netflix. And so obviously you're well aware of the amount of effort and the writing and the costs that go into that. And it's not so simple, all that stuff to produce. And producing television, while it's gotten cheaper, it's still not cheap per se, as much as comics is. And I know people might say, well, producing a comic is expensive. No denying that it's expensive. It is not as expensive as producing an animated series.
Well, I mean, you are correct. Everything costs money. There's no doubt about that. It's just how you use that money. That's the important thing. I mean, I will tell you that back, even as far back as movies and TV and whatever, things can get done, on a very low budget if you know how to spend your money correctly. And that's the thing is that I will be most creators are really not that good at handling money. I myself included, to be honest. But the fact of the matter is that if you're team up with somebody who can handle it, anything can be done. You just got to set your mind to it. You've got to find the people who can do it, or do it yourself, or teach yourself, or do the things because the biggest aspect of any successful creator is just to create. Okay, you got to get your stuff out there. You cannot let it sit and languish in your mind, or just say to yourself, you know what, I don't really feel like drawing today. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying you should draw, you know, every day, but you really should. You should sit down and you should draw every day or create something every day. Even if it's only 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day, you need to just get something done every day. And you'll find that as the days go by, you've accomplished something, greater and greater and bigger and bigger. If you decide not to do it, then it's never going to get done. No one's going to, do it for you, unless you have the money or the will or the where for to get it done. It's really, that's what it comes down. It's a fundamental thing about any successful IP or creation, is that someone decided that, you know what, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to get this done.
Well, I was just challenged to something, so this is going to be very, very interesting. I'm not too sure the rules of combat on this one, but you know,
I would never combat anybody. I would welcome any, lively debate.
I mean the word duel. I mean, the only thing I could think of is the heart of the cards and pull out a blue eyes white dragon, and I'll be great. But that's such a bad joke in so many ways. I digress right there. Clearly, this season's going downhill. This season is going straight downhill, guys. I've already come and succumbed to the fact that this entire thing's going downhill. But I digress right there. After you probably just gave the greatest advice for creators, I just completely just took it and tanked it into the river. Clearly. But I do want to obviously get back into the Girls of Ninja High School and go through a little bit of the rewards before we get into the Niobe portion of this interview.
Mhm.
Yes, everybody, there's a Niobe portion of this interview. But,
Awesome.
yeah, no, it's very important, I think, to talk about Niobe. I am not contractually obligated, but I feel that obviously I'm on Larry's show all the time, so I'm returning the favor.
He's been wanting me to do a Niobe Ichiku crossover, and I would like to do that someday. When I have a little spare time, I would love to do it.
We're going to talk all about Niobe, everybody, I promise. But one of the things I do want to get into is rewards. So obviously, people can get this thing digitally, which is good for people who don't want to pay for shipping, or shipping internationally is a bitch in a lot of ways. It is complicated. Australia is open sometimes, it is closed sometimes. I don't even know what's going on with Australia, New Zealand, the rest of the world. And obviously with COVID, that's very complicated. Not to mention that it's expensive to ship books overseas right now. also takes forever. And then you also offer a soft cover book, a soft sign cover book, a soft sketch cover book. You offer a hardcover, a sign hardcover, a sketch cover, and then I think that those are the only rewards. I think there's like seven of them, right?
Yeah, I try to keep it simple. I mean, my one of the things I learned in the past is that when you offer uh, too many tiers, it can get really confusing, and it can also lead to a lot more expenses than a lot of people realize. You know, because it takes money to do all those different separate tiers. You know, and I've learned that you try to keep it simple, try to keep it direct, and know what works. Yeah, and that's what it. I mean, in my past campaigns, I used to, oh, you know what, I'm going to do this special foil edition. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Do this. And I learned very quickly that, oh, what a pain in the butt to do all this stuff. So you just like, I just streamlined it to make it as easy and as simple for backers to say, oh, well, that's easy. I can just either back this or back that. It just for me, that's what works best.
Yeah, no, I think that's something that is very, very interesting because I'm sure you've seen campaigns and I have as well. And I probably asked you this the last time too, but I think it's very important is that I've seen people who have 50 covers. And while they're not producing 50 different pieces of art, they have a medal, they have a foil, they have this. And I'm just looking at their campaign and I get overwhelmed very, very easily with that, where I'm like, you have legitly nine different versions of the same cover.
Hmm.
And when you go to print that, and this is something that I think people don't understand, is that every time you print a different cover, it is a different print run. It adds an expense to the print run, and this is something
Absolutely.
that I think people don't understand. So if you have four covers, you're going to have an additional, and I don't know the whole dynamics, and obviously there's people who are watching this who know better than me, so I'm not going to go speak, but I know it changes how much something costs, and it does add an additional cost to it, and
Yes.
then you have to raise your price up or it cuts into your profit, and it
Right.
gets very, very complicated. And
Yeah.
so
The more stuff you add, the heavier the, the package is. It adds weight. Every little thing that you add is going to increase your costs. And I think a lot of creators make the first time creators make the mistake of not, figuring that in the final, cost. Because you may do well thinking that, oh, this is going to cost me this much to do that, this much to do that, and then find out, holy crap, I didn't realize, printing this add-on was going to cost this much, and then shipping it was going to cost this much, and then when they suddenly realize, man, I don't have enough money to cover, all the stuff that I promised, and then they get into that jam where they have to either put in their own money or not fulfill their campaign.
I mean, I'm in a unique position where most of the things that I'm fulfilling are digital. And so for me, it's very easy for me to add on another digital position. I have
Sure,
two physical rewards, and that was intentional
and that works
because
for you, you know.
it works for me and it works for my product. But if I'm producing a comic, it's a little bit different.
Mhm.
And that's something that I think people have to understand. And when you're a first time creator like myself, I'm also in the podcast realm. So I'm not doing a comic book per se. So it's a little bit different. So I don't want to start going to giving advice. Obviously, Sam Quinning's been in here, Max DeVille's been in here, Naomi Comics has been in here, Trish Benningston's been in here, and I think Pete Velasquez was in here. Or hopefully, I got Pete's name right. Um, and so all these people, and I know them too, which is great. Which I appreciate them all watching a good chunk of it.
Yeah,
All those people, if you're looking and you're a first time creator, I don't think they're going to mind. Those are the people you should ask questions to. I am not the guy to ask. Ben is the guy to ask Kickstarter questions to, comic questions to. I am not. I'm going to defer to all of them until I'm doing a comic. But yeah, I think it's very important to understand even budgeting in all this.
absolutely. The worst thing you can do for a campaign is to underestimate the cost of fulfilling your campaign. Because nobody wants to lose money on a campaign. And so it has to, especially if you have to fulfill it. Now, it's one thing if it doesn't fulfill, then you're not obligated to do anything. But if it is fulfilled, and then you find out, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was going to cost this much. I didn't know this was going to cost that much. And then you find out that you end up either with very little left over or in the negative. and that's the worst thing that can happen, really, short of not being fulfilled. Because at least if it's not fulfilled, I mean, if it doesn't make the goal, then you're not obligated to do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for me in my campaign, I might be $50 surplus at most, but I'm not in the way I make my money is outside my Kickstarter. Where the way I make money is not within Kickstarter, but Kickstarter, it basically covers all my expenses for the year. And so when I'm kickstarting something, it's not a money opportunity. It keeps me in the game because there's other avenues that I make money in
Well,
my business.
and the thing is that
That's also different.
every project that you do adds to your library. Okay, that's the thing. Because eventually, okay, you're going to build up enough material where you can go ahead and offer it again. I mean, I always look at it as that there are like what 3 billion people in the world, so that's a
Seven,
potential.
7 billion,
3 billion,
but three is
what,
good enough.
7 billion? Is that what the population is now of the world? You know, that's 7 billion potential readers. And that's the way I look at it. So there's just no way that everybody in the world has read your book. And so once you get a project done, it's yours forever. You can use it over and over and over again, and the potential to finding new readers is almost unlimited. You just gotta convince the I mean, like all the material I've done over the last 30 years on stuff like that, I'm using again. Because I know that people who read Ninja High School back in the 80s, I mean, they're like me, like 40 or 50 years old. So all the people who are now in the reading age, they probably never heard of Ninja High School. So there's a potential huge new generation of readers that might be interested in following the adventures of Jeremy Feeple and Ichiku and Azrael and all the other Ninja High School characters that have appeared. And hopefully they'll enjoy it, and become new readers. Yeah.
And let's even talk about that because obviously this is being kickstarted and this is happening. This is out of all the Ninja High School stuff that I think has been out on Kickstarter. This is doing the best out of the bunch from what I've seen. And obviously, what people, and just to go further into this, Ninja High School is in previews now. And I get my comics every month from Midtown, and I order it online and I order in previews and all that stuff. And I see Ninja High School, in previews. And so the story is continuing. And so this stuff has some relevance, and I don't know the whole story about how everything fits in, but that's something that I think people need to also understand is that when you're reading the swimsuit edition stuff, when you're reading The Girls in Ninja High School, when you're going backwards and reading the yearbooks, all this stuff really builds onto the world of Ninja High School. And so what is that like that the story is continuing and that, this is 35 years plus now of Ninja High School, and I think we're in our 35th year, or is the
I say
35th
it's
anniversary?
30 years. It's 30
30.
years.
Oh, wow. I'm getting ahead of myself.
No problem. So but the thing is that I love the characters. I love Ninja. The only reason that it even stopped to begin with was back in the early 2000s. Diamond had instituted a bare minimum sales policy, and Ninja High School wasn't meeting that threshold. So the company decided to go ahead and pull the book. It was also at a time where I was just married and doing my own thing and moved and stuff like that. I decided to strike out on my own to do things on my own. But Ninja High School has always been in my heart. I've been always trying to promote it whenever I could. And then finally, uh, uh, AP told me that Diamond had lifted their minimum threshold policy. So I decided, well, I'm going to jump right in, do a new version of Ninja High School with new characters, new storylines, and see how far that takes me. And but the thing is, I have the history of Ninja High School behind me. I've got 180 plus issues plus everything else that has come. So I've built a huge universe for myself, one issue at a time. And that's the way to do it. It's just to do your series one issue at a time. Just get it done. Just get it done.
Yeah, I think that's something that people need to understand is that you don't need to build Rome in a day. And again, there's a bunch of people watching, who legitimately have done just that and are doing just that and building it piece by piece by piece. And
Hmm.
so obviously, if you just Google Ninja High School, everybody, whether it'll pop up on Kickstarter, you go into your local comic shop. I don't have the preview number for Ninja High School for people to order the next batch of that. I know I came ill prepared. It's all right.
You can go to any comic book store and ask the retailer, and I'm sure he'll be happy to order it for you.
And if they don't, find a new comic shop. So that's just the way it goes. Ninja High School or bust, guys. Ninja
Well,
High School or bust.
I don't understand that. I don't understand that logic. If someone is coming into your store asking that they'll buy a comic book, I mean, what detriment is it to them if you don't order it? I mean, you're losing a sale. You're basically, I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me.
I've seen it once, and I've only seen it once, and it was a very weird experience that somebody wouldn't order a book. But I don't go to that shop anymore for a good reason, and let's just say people sometimes get a little too political on certain books, and it's unfortunate. Where it's a comic book, it's not going to kill you. So I'm going to say, unless you cut somebody's throat with the paper, and then it's like a paper cut. But anyway,
Well,
I'm just saying.
they
Um,
always say you are what you read.
that is true too. But I do want to back out of Ninja High School. Obviously, as I was stating, right now I know that you could order Ninja High School in previews Midtown. So if you go, it's in the independent sections, and pretty much my understanding is Midtown has their previews open. I think to like the 20th or like 19th or something like that. So you got plenty of time. You got pretty much 2/3 of the month to order your comics. And I do want to talk about what Antarctic Press does, though, and this is the Niobe section um, of the interview. And obviously, Niobe is sort of the new book that Antarctic Press has picked up. And it's in Exciting Comics. And then obviously, Previews is coming out with Niobe. And I got some cool photos. Obviously, this is one of them. I think this is Justin Hunt's cover. I think this is Courtney's cover. And then this is Matthew Whedon's cover or Weldon's cover. I don't know how to say his name. And in order to get
Yeah,
this
you got it
one,
right.
you,
Yeah.
you have to order 20 of, I think, this one to get that one. And it's like a 1 in 20 incentive variant. Um, and so what is this like to bring Niobe? Obviously, Larry has explained the story a bunch of times, but I know that it's been a long road for Niobe to get into Antarctic Press. I know you are a big part of bringing it in, and even to bring in an indie title from Kickstarter that's really doing well on Kickstarter, and then bring that onto a shelf in a comic store. Because sorry to reiterate and go on for a little bit long, 20 seconds more, I promise everybody. But people won't go and back books on Kickstarter, but they'll buy a book in a comic shop. And some people will only buy things on Kickstarter. So what is that like to sort of bridge that gap and solve that problem?
Well, I mean, to Larry's credit, he's a great talent. He was very persistent. You know, he showed me Niobe, and I really liked it. It took some convincing for the other guys, but the AP guys have always been a little hesitant to take on new things because they're always very skeptical about everything. But I love creators and always love the opportunity. See, that's the thing is that he wrote to me, I wrote back to him. We communicated. He showed me his stuff. I really liked it, you know, um, and that's one of the reasons why I created the various anthology titles like Exciting, Jungle, Planet, and horror comics and things like that, because I knew that there were going to be series or books that AP weren't willing to take a chance on as a standalone, but would be willing to take a chance if it was part of an overall anthology. So we decided to give, and that's what a lot of comics used to do. I mean, if you go back to the Golden Age, that's all they did. They did anthology. Those were all anthology comic books. They had various stories. They had various all sorts of introducing new characters and things like that. And I thought I'd bring that back. When I first proposed the idea of the anthologies to the AP, they told me up front, anthologies, they don't sell. Nobody's doing anthologies anymore. And I said, well, I think we need to bring that back because not only does it give people a variety of stories that they can try out, it gives us the ability and the flexibility to give new creators an opportunity to get their stuff into comic stores and try out, uh, to try out new ideas. And if a creator wants to keep doing it and he's proven himself, in a book like Exciting or Planet or Horror or Jungle Comics, then we might be able to uh, uh, take the chance of giving him or her own the series that they desire, because they've proven they can do it. They've proven to be reliable. They've proven to be professional. They've proven to be people that we can work with. I also like we also accept Kickstarter projects that have already been funded. We love the stories and comics that have already been who are pretty much been already created, already done, ready to go. So if a creator decides, what, I want to see if I can get into comic stores, this is a perfect venue to try it out. See if it's the kind of material that will hit with comic book store audiences. And then
Let's even talk a little bit about that, because obviously one of the things that is a problem, and I think it's a problem in all comics, is that you go out there and then you get into a company that's either distributing it for you, or you have a deal with them, or you're in an anthology, and then they say, hey, we're going to publish your thing over the course of 4 issues. So Exciting Comics 17, 18, 19, 20, and then but it's not done, and then you can't deliver. I mean, that's something that is a big problem, because that disappoints the fans. It puts the company in a weird position, and all of a sudden you have 2 issues, and then you have 2 more issues or 2 more parts of the story you got to tell, and they're not done, but it's time to publish the book. That could screw up an entire book. It can confuse fans, and so I
yeah,
think it's important.
that is true. That is true. But anthology also gives you the flexibility to be able to juggle things around, if needed. If a creator needs more time to do something, then, well, we'll just say it'll come next issue or whatever. And the important thing is that it's we just try to do as much as we can, with what we have. And that's and Larry's a good example of that. He proved to be not only a talented creator, but he's a good self promoter. He made sure people knew that his story was going to be in Exciting Comics, and that's really a lot of things that, I mean, that is one thing that a lot of creators don't have a handle on, is self promotion. That's really important. If in And I know not every creator is good at it. Larry just happens to be very talented at being able to promote his work. But and that's the thing, is that creators, they have to have faith in the stuff that they're doing and be able to sell it. And that's because in the end, that's really what it comes down to. You want to convince people to buy your book. Because otherwise, what's really the point of doing it, other than just because you want to do it?
No. I agree, and obviously Larry pushes hard. He really does in a lot of ways, and that's why I respect Larry for pushing hard. And obviously Larry does a lot of
Me too.
streaming and things of that nature. And it's also the idea. And Larry's a great example for everybody out there that, you got to let people know. Now, you don't have to, there is a point, and this is not what Larry does, but I need to say it anyway, where somebody could keep shoving it down. So I'll give an example of what not to do. If I have nothing to do with your book and I am not a close enough friend to you, do not tag me on a Facebook post that has nothing to do with me if I don't know you. Okay, that is a violation of my trust. Now, if Larry or Sam Quinnen, and I don't know if Sam's still watching, tags me when he's launching his Kickstarter, or tags me once a week, I'm close enough with those people to do that. But if somebody randomly does it and they're just trying to sell their book and they tag me every single day on a post, that's now crossing the line and shoving it down my throat. And there's a difference between those two things. And Larry, just to make this crystal clear, didn't do that. I need to make that clear. So I'm glad. See, they're all still watching. I don't know who's watching, guys. So not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but that's a perfect example of there's a right way how to promote, and there is a bad way how to promote. And I think that's something that creators also need to know how to do.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, you have to respect boundaries. You have to, and there's a correct way to promote it, and there's an incorrect way to promote it. You just got to know the difference between the two. But the thing is that really, if you want people to be aware of your project, you're gonna have to go out and pound the pavement, so to speak, and get people to be aware of what you're doing. You know?
And then even going further, obviously April is when Niobe's coming out, and hopefully I got this code right. For the Justin Hunt cover, it's February 221211 is for that one, and then the other one for the Courtney Rose, it's Feb 221212. Obviously, if you go to your comic shop with those two codes, I think you got to the 18th in your local comic shop. So obviously those two codes are picking up preview orders, or I'm sure that if you just go to your comic shop, say, hey, I want a copy of Niobe. Can you hook me up? And then if this shop says, hey, we got, we're ordering 20 of them, I'm sure that maybe you could sort of catch in there and, obviously sort of sneak one in where you might be able to get that 1 in 20 variant or the incentive, or I don't know what it's exactly called.
Yeah,
So
you have a
yeah,
choice.
I just put it up and I'll throw it right in here. So that's that one, and then the other one I think is just one below it as far as numbers. But obviously I'm gonna just leave that up. I'm gonna leave up just I think that's the cover A. That's the Justin Hunt, and the Courtney Rose is 221211, and then the Matthew Weldon or Whedon. I don't know how to say his name. So
Well done. You got it right.
oh, no, again. I'm just making it crystal clear. That's that one. But if you just remember one of these codes, I'm sure your comic shop will more than happily figure it out for you if you want this book, or you could do what I did, which is just order straight off Midtown Comics, because this way you don't have to deal with any codes and it's easiest for me. And so that's just what's going on with that. So a lot of cool stuff's going on. I'm sure that I'm going to get you and Larry on in April. We're putting it on the books now. I'm just letting you know it's going to be a duel. I don't know if he means a duel as in both you on screen, or if we're going to go to New Jersey and settle it that way, or if we're all going to get Yu-Gi-Oh decks and
We should all be in San Diego.
we could do it there too. We could just
Absolutely.
we should
to
just
San Diego Comic Con. We'll meet up there.
Wherever you want to do it, I'll fly. Larry will fly in. It'll be great. But anyhow,
Absolutely.
I believe this is what he meant. See, this is how I think. Everybody, clearly I was off base here. Clearly, clearly I was off base. But
I think AP they just recently told me that I think that San Diego will be on this year. So hopefully it'll be I think it's going to be a big one because it was shut down for 2 years. So I think people are ready to go back.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting year with comics, and I'm curious how you feel about everything and where you think it's going, because obviously I'm waiting till summer to deal with
Yeah,
cons,
I think
both on an economic level for myself and just stabilizing my economics. But on top of all of that, I also would prefer to go out in warmer weather. I also think cons are better. I also think people just generally are nicer in the summer than in the winter, from my personal experience. And I have no proof of that, but yeah, going to a con when it's 20 degrees outside is not fun.
well, I agree with you there on that. But unfortunately, San Diego is in the summer, so we shouldn't have too much of a problem. As far as comics are concerned, I think as an art form and I think it's going to be a long time before comics are gone forever. And as long as people are willing to do it and people are willing to buy it, it's going to be around for a long time. Now, whether traditional publishers will be around, that's a bigger question. Because if you really think about it, there's really no need to be a publisher other than for your own stuff, because you can get your own stuff printed, distribute it. You can do direct sales. You can do. You don't have to go through comic stores anymore. Um, the cost of printing, I mean, you can has gone tremendously down. So you can print. It used to be when we were printing comics back in the 80s and 90s, you had to print like 3,000 copies minimum, for a printer to even, consider printing your book. Now you can find printers who will do one copy, and as many copies as you want. Yeah, and so the options are are great. I'm the only reason that the thing about Antarctic Press is that we know that what's coming down the pike as far as how things are going to go. I mean, well, we can't predict the future, of course, but um, there are signs that we can see. I mean, the fact that Diamond lost Marvel and DC, that's a big deal,
Well, so
and
to even talk about that, because obviously I see signs as well, where I'm a big Zenescope fan, and prior to Diamond and around the time they started offering Diamond cover incentives, Zenescope did, and I don't know if it was coincidental. I don't know if it was just a marketing ploy, but it seemed all coincidental that all of a sudden there's an incentive for a shop to order a certain amount of books to get a bonus book or a particular 400 or 350 print run. And I'm starting to see signs where it's almost like I don't know, and also companies like Second Sight Publishing and Belmont or Behemoth, I forget how it's pronounced, it is popping up, and a variety of other things are popping up now. And it almost seems to me that we're going to have the rise of the imprint, but it's not an imprint, rise of third tier publishing companies that are then going to become second tier, and that collectively might be a real challenge to Diamond in a lot of ways, because again, printing has come down. And so I'm curious how you see it all, because the way I see it, because I'm on the investing side of this trade,
well,
so I view it differently.
um, Diamond is a big company. I mean, they do more than just distributed comics. They do other things as well. Um, the loss of Marvel and DC, I'm sure, was not an easy hit to take. I don't know what their future plans are. The thing about it is that Diamond really is the only major comic distributor of independence. I mean, we have other comic distributors who do the Marvels and DCs, but so I don't know what their plans are. It would, as far as the thing, but we have to be prepared. You know, we hope that Diamond will be around for a long time. Because we want to still service comic book stores and be able to have them available to the general public. But at the same time, it's better to be prepared for the worst. And decide, well, what we're going to do. Should we just go straight to only crowdfunding? Should we just do Patreon? Should we do other things? Should we just go all digital? Those are questions we have to ask ourselves as far as, I mean, there's also talk of doing NFTs, things like that. So there's a brave new world out there as far as comics are concerned, and it really all just depends to what how the direction of the industry will go. I we like to be prepared. We like to be able to keep our options open. Now, there's a possibility that things go south and we may have to shut the whole thing down. You never know. That's always a possibility. I would not like to see that happen. And we'll do everything in our power to make sure that we can keep our doors open. But it's just one of those things that you really can't predict. You can only prepare. So
I'm a
hopefully,
strong believer that I don't think comics as an industry are going to be shut down. I think they're going to evolve. I think that there's also, I think, and I'm very open about what I think. I think the U.S. economy is going to take a hit in the next 6 to 9 months. I think it's going to be a lot less than what people are anticipating, but I do think things are going to be a little bit rough. I'm very honest, but I don't think, and I think companies that are smart and understand what they're doing are going to be able to survive. And I think comics are going to take a temporary hit. I really do. And,
I
but
disagree. I think comics will survive very easily because it's a very quick and convenient form of entertainment. You can, like you say, like you do, you can read comics online. Um, the You can also get them sent directly to you. So it's not like it's not unavailable. It's just a matter of
so
the value.
what I mean is that I don't think it's going to be like they're going to die. I think it's going to be very much that people are going to say, look, I
Well,
need used to get
I,
20 titles and I'm pulling down to 10. And then in about
well,
a
I think
year,
it's
it's just
perceived
gone.
value. I think it's perceived value. Okay, if so you're spending $4 to $5 for a typical Marvel and DC book. How many pages of entertainment are you actually getting? 20, 22 pages? You
Or
know,
18. But that's not the point.
18 pages. I mean,
It's a joke. It's a joke because the writing is so bad.
I mean, it's all about the value of what people are getting for their money. Okay, for instance, for AP, we decided to go to add more pages, not take away more pages. I took the step of adding 8 more pages to the typical, and if you read a typical exciting comics, it is comics cover to cover. Okay, there's hardly any ads, at all. In fact, sometimes I got to put the story on the inside back cover, just to give you some extra story pages, and we decided to increase it to 40 pages, and stay within, with under the $5 mark, for 40 pages. I mean, that's double what a typical
Yeah.
Marvel or DC comic offer, and we're doing that for almost all our anthologies, except for Jungle Comics, because for some reason I can never get enough submissions. Seems like a lot of people just don't do jungle stories anymore, but
It's all right. It's all right. It's a Tarzan thing. You have to understand. Tarzan ruined it for all of us.
yeah. But like I said, so we're taking the opposite tack that we want to give people more value, not less value. Like when you if you're going to increase your price, you better make damn sure that people feel like it's worth the extra money. You
I
know,
agree on that. And also, I mean, I'm going to say something that's going to be somewhat messed up, but also you better make sure your writers, your artists don't do something dumb because right now, there are books that I don't buy because the writer has done something or has said something or has crossed the line or has attacked fans. And I'm like, I don't want to support that. And so that's another thing where even if you're not changing your price or what you're bringing, if your writer has gone out and attacked fans, I'm like, I'm out. It matters to me, and maybe other people it doesn't matter, but it's also the attitude I feel because now when I have to become more selective because money's tight and right now in my world money's a bit tight, so I've become a lot more selective in the last 6 months on what I actually pick and what do I really want to read versus saying do I want to take a shotgun approach and pick up everything, and
yeah,
so now I'm actually looking at who's writing it, what's their mission statement, what are they writing, why are they writing, what is their actual writing skill. And so now there's all these barometers that actually when I pick a book I want to read, and physically in particular, because I also have storage issues. And I think that's what I mean, where I think, the US is about to be hit economically. And I think it's going to force people to really assess what they want. And I think that's a good thing because I think that
well,
means that you have to earn my dollar.
right. I mean, I agree with you totally. I mean, uh, AP has always had the policy that really don't say anything. The internet is forever. So don't don't say anything to alienate your customer. But we can't control the behavior of our creators. We try very hard to separate the artist from the creation. But uh, if it turns out to
So
be more trouble than it's
I'll make a
worth,
statement. So I don't view your artists representing your company per se.
mm,
But I do that if a writer says something that's racist, right? I view that connected with their book. So I
oh,
don't view it as an AP position. I view
right,
it as an idea that if person X said something racist, I'm not going to buy their book, but I'll buy another book from Antarctic Press, for instance. And the reason why is that I don't view it connected to the company, but I view it connected to the intellectual property, which is a difference. There's a big difference. It's kind of like I'm a huge WWE fan. If a wrestler did something, there was a wrestler who got accused of, sexual assault and texting a minor and doing something somewhat wrong. I think everybody knows who this. I don't view that as a WWE's fault. I view that as that wrestler's problem. And now I don't want to buy that wrestler's T-shirt, but I'll buy a John Cena T-shirt instead. That's how I view it, and I think it's a good way to look at it more so than anything else.
And absolutely, you have that right. You can decide, and see that's the beauty of the system that we have is that you have the right to buy or not to buy or support or not to support any creator. I mean, we try our best to. I hate that we have to, get to the point where we have to actually consider, what people have said online or to vet what they've, what their thing is. But we try very hard. I don't. When someone sends a submission to me, I don't ask them, what their gender is. I don't know actually what their political beliefs are. I don't ask any of that. Okay. The only thing I'm concerned about is the work good. Do I like the work? I base all my decisions for submissions strictly on do I like the work, and if and I always take it upon myself to make sure I let every submission or creator know, to write back to them and let them know what I think or what to acknowledge them. You will know that any creator who sends something to me, I will acknowledge receipt of that creation. I will not ignore it. And that's the thing that allows me to be able to find all these great creators, and possible superstars of the future. Because I mean, we're not Marvel or DC, and we long given up any pursuit of trying to be anywhere near Marvel and DC. We're just an alternative. We're a small independent.
It's how I function. Where I spend a lot of time in indie wrestling for a reason, because I'm not looking for the way my business and my interview business is built essentially. And what I've done is with the wrestlers, and if you go back through seasons 1 and 2 of my show, there are some people who have done amazing things and who are the superstars of tomorrow, but they're not going to be the superstars of tomorrow. They're generation 4 or 5 down the road, but I spent a lot of time in the indie saying this person's a superstar, that person's a superstar. And it's so cool because I can't compete with a WWE, I can never interview a WWE superstar just because I can't get in, but I can get them before they go there. And I could get them on that superstar journey and rising to the top. And I'm like, well, I was there first and I spotted talent and I have a relationship with people who are going to be in WWE in the next 6 months. And people are like, how'd you get that? And it's because I just know where to look. And it's that same mentality. And so I think it's very cool what you're doing because you're very much a breeding ground. And it's something that I think a lot of people don't understand. And once you do understand it, it's going to be very cool. And I think, maybe I just revealed my entire play card here for everybody, but there you go. I know where to look for talent.
Well, the thing about it is that how are we going to find the next crop of talent if we don't give them the opportunity to showcase their abilities and their work? I mean, it is different now. Okay, I will grant you that because of crowdfunding, because of the internet, and because of the digital sphere, anybody. I mean, it's just like YouTube itself. If you have a good message, you have a positive, you have a message that people can resonate with, you can have as many viewers as some cable shows. It's just the same with comics. If your comic is good, people will find it and they will support it. I mean, there's countless examples of that, on the and some of these crowdfunding books, they do better than Marvel and DC. I mean, who could say that, And it's one of those things that the dynamic has changed. The only reason I think that I mean, not the only reason, but one of the things that I think is a good opportunity is for small independent publishers is that uh, people have become disillusioned with what Marvel and DC are putting out these days. And they're. I'm not saying that they're abandoning it, but certainly the sales have not been as robust as they have been in the past. And this is a perfect opportunity for independent publishers to start and independent creators to really shine and to show people that they can do better, that they can offer an alternative.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that that's something that obviously a lot of people can take, and I think the opportunity is just there for people if they want it. And I think that that's if you're an independent publisher, given the current comic market, I think the opportunity is there. And I mean, it's just does somebody really want it? Whether you're going through Kickstarter or Exciting Comics or Jungle
Well,
Comics,
if you really think about it, technically, every creator is an independent publisher. I mean, if you do your own thing, you're a publisher. Okay, the thing about going through a traditional publisher like Antarctic Press is that we do a lot of the hard work that a lot of creators are not willing to do. Like we do the legwork to get your books in the comic stores. We do the printing, we do the distribution. We do some PR. And some creators they just don't want to deal with all that stuff. And so this gives them an opportunity to get their work out there without having the have to go through all doing all that stuff themselves. Now if you're perfectly willing to want to do that, then that's great. That's fantastic. But there is space for traditional publishers to, you know, get creators work out there, and do the stuff that a lot of creators are not willing to do.
yeah, and I think obviously it's all about what people want to do and all that stuff. And I'm sure I could pick your brain for hours on this, and I'm sure that a bunch of people who are just starting to create and are in the comic world would love it. And but I need content for the fourth time you're on, so we're gonna stop there. But obviously I'm gonna throw this one up because I think this really sums up Antarctic Press really well. Is resurgence has been found in eight
Yeah,
people
Larry.
who are going to be hearing this in probably a few months on a podcast. In podcast format, obviously, there's a lot of cool comments and things of that nature. And so obviously that's something that I think is perfect. But I do want to give you an opportunity to promote yourself because you got a lot of stuff going on. I do also want to say that Cat Shit One is on Kickstarter right now, and I read the first one and I've talked about Cat Shit One. And if obviously Mouse is in the news of an anthropomorphic book about the Holocaust, it's an amazing book, and I'm not comparing Cat Shit One to Mouse, but it is similar to the fact that it is painting the Vietnam War, Afghanistan, and I think parts of Iraq in animal form and giving a very different take. And it's very similar to Mouse in that style and sort of shedding a new light on it. And again, I'm not trying to say Mouse and Catch It One are the same book, but it's a similar thing with the anthropomorphic elements to it.
Well,
And
they're both telling a story in a way. They're both telling a story about history in a way that is, different.
yes, that's a great way to put it. And I think that that's something that is. And the reason why I bring that up is that Catch It One is done by Antarctic Press, and it's fully funded. It's 27 days, is because it ends pretty much on February 28th. And it's a really cool book. It's a 400-page, book in the hardcover format. And so obviously I just want to mention that. But anyway, going off of that, I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. So where can people back the Kickstarter, back you, find you on Facebook, join your Facebook group, as well as support anything and everything you do, and also preferably make you as much money as humanly possible.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram, and you can find me on TikTok. I'm pretty easy to find, so that's not a big, difficult. I do appreciate you letting me promote the Kickstarter Girls of Ninja High School Volume 1, which is a never before reprinted collection of the Girls of Ninja High School anthology, which is a series of stories based primarily on the girl characters of Ninja High School. It's very manga. If you like manga, it's funny. It's for general audiences, so there's nothing controversial that would get it banned. So, but yeah, if you could check it out, see if you like it, hopefully I'll add you as a backer.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna keep saying what I've been saying. I said it all of 2020. I said it all of 2021. I'm gonna keep saying it all throughout 2022. You have to support indie. What that means is when people have Kickstarters, you gotta back their Kickstarters. So first and foremost, you should hopefully back on a pledge level, and obviously pick up a book, whether you're backing digital or you're backing physical. But sometimes I get it that maybe somebody has a digital reward that's like a $50 digital reward. And you like their project, but maybe you can't afford it. But you can always throw a dollar in. You can always throw a dollar in. A dollar goes a long way. It makes a difference because if enough people throw in a dollar, all of a sudden it can be another $100 that somebody has to their project. And it can mean the difference between somebody funding and not. So first and foremost, you can throw in a dollar. But let's say you're in a tough financial spot. I've been there. Everybody's been there. One of the things that you should do instead is you should be sharing out the project. I just had somebody actually drop on a pledge. I don't know what happened, and it's a weird circumstance, and I hope the person's doing all right. But if they dropped out, what they could do technically that'd be beyond helpful is actually share out my project. That is just as
Absolutely.
valuable as what they dropped out on. And I'm not
Absolutely.
trying to shame them or anything like that, but also the point I'm trying to get across is sharing out a project on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, mentioning it in your story, doing something on TikTok with it goes a long way because you don't know who's watching, you don't know who's going to know it, you don't know who's going to see it, and it can very well also make the difference between somebody backing it and not backing it, and that's very important. So obviously, that's something that is very, very helpful. Obviously, the Kickstarter is in the description up above or down below in the YouTube stuff. And so that's something that is very, very helpful as well. And I'll be posting the link after we're done, just so I don't fuss around here. I got you. Nightly Comics, I'm going to post it after we're done just so everybody can have it, but it's also in the description for if everybody wants to back it. And then as far as I'm concerned about me, obviously my Kickstarter is up in 28 minutes, I believe, or 27 minutes. I am $12 short of 850, so that's kind of cool. So I'm going to be really hustling in the next 15 minutes to get that $12 out. So that makes me very, very excited. But all jokes aside, but seriously, my Kickstarter is actually up in like 27 minutes. But supporting me, obviously through sponsorships. If you're printing comics and you're not happy with your printer, or you are, use Mixum. My code Andrew Davis, 5% off. Obviously, BCW Supplies, Pop Anime Comics. It's an affiliate link. I get a commission off of that, and you save 10% off. And yeah, just like what I do, share it around because it means something to me too. I really appreciate shares of my Facebook show, the YouTube side, and everything else that I do. Like my page, that means something. Join my group, Indie Comic Connect. You can post whatever you want. It's free to join on Facebook. Join Indie Comics, which I believe is your group. That's also a free group to join. And yeah, so support indie people and indie comic creators because it goes a long way in so many fashions. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. It's always a pleasure, and I want to thank all your listeners. And like the man says, support indie comics.
And on that note, that's a wrap, everybody.